Welcome to the Digital Marketing Insights podcast, brought to you by Brightside Digital.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to say today we have Phoebe, who's an e-commerce and digital marketing executive. Phoebe, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Tom?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Phoebe, can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your career to date, please?
Of course, yeah. So I'll start with the present time, I guess. I currently work for Diageo, their Irish brand home. So that's Guinness Storehouse, Roe& Co. and Smithwick's. And I'm mainly in e-commerce and the digital marketing side of things. I've been in Diageo for about just over 3 years now. I started off as a sales advisor, and then I moved into e-commerce due to the dreaded COVID pandemic. It obviously brought about great gifts for me in my career, but I know it was a tough time for other people. So yeah, other than that, I've been working in digital marketing for over 5 years now, and that has run from small startups to then like local government initiatives to obviously multinational companies like Diageo now. So that's where I am at.
Brilliant. And Phoebe, what would you say is your main strength within digital at the moment?
I think this falls, obviously it's kind of under two umbrellas. In my personal opinion, I would say that organic social is, I think it's like just the most influential and one of the most individual forms of social media kind of marketing. There's more like, I think there's just more of a freedom to it where you're representing like the brand's initiatives, but in a unique and creative way. Just as an example, obviously, at the moment for Guinness Storehouse, we have a digital campaign running on social. It's called 119.5 seconds. Now, 119.5 seconds, that is the amount of time it takes to pour the perfect pint of Guinness. So we kind of took a spin on this figure and created like a little campaign out of it where we chat to Irish influencers or artists, and they just share some details about themselves, but in like a quick fire round of questions, obviously to fit in the 119.5 seconds. And we've worked with the Irish artist Loa, the Irish rapper Mango Dassel as well. And these videos have been completely organic, but they've gained such traction to the site, and that would be like domestically mainly, but also globally, you know. And then for, I think, e-commerce itself and more of a practical view, I'd obviously argue that paid search is it's the most important for traffic and conversion on the website. Um, yeah, I think just like if we didn't have paid social, I don't know how we'd be able to maintain online sessions as well as we do for Guinness Storehouse and Row.
Yeah.
And then another one obviously would be email marketing. I didn't even think of that one, but that's another huge realm to go into. And to be honest, I think email marketing, it's almost like a softer kind of sell to your audience, to also just, you know, educate them on the brand itself and the value of your brand, and keep them kind of engaged between, say, big product launches and things like that.
I can see that. And okay, so there's a couple of areas to touch point there, but obviously a lot of your marketing, it sounds like some of your marketing is around driving traffic to the site and
Yeah.
doing that side of things. So is Guinness, is when you say the storehouse, do you mean the tours that goes in Guinness Storehouse, or do you work on other areas that like selling Guinness itself in boxes or something like that.
Yeah, so I think that's obviously under Guinness, that the staff always know exactly what's going on, but then to the outside world, it's not as known, I guess, as to what is under Guinness when we say Guinness Storehouse. So what I mean with working in the Irish brand home section, as you said, it is for the visitor experience and it is for footfall. Um, if we move on to global Diageo, which is still under Diageo, but it would be just obviously under a different industry. That is about the actual, let's say, the big Guinness ads, like the Christmas ad that we'll see on TV, and again, as you touched on, like the actual making of Guinness itself. Um, so there's two varieties. There's Irish brand home, and then there's global.
Brilliant. And obviously, you mentioned a campaign of you working with kind of Irish influencers and doing the time period and the quick fire questions. But how much scope do you have in creating your social content and coming up with those ideas and campaigns? Is a lot of it yourself, Phoebe, or how do you operate like that?
It's a big team within the Irish brand homes for Guinness. A smaller team for Rowan Co. Whiskey, I would say, but um, between our PR reps and then just within our entire marketing team, we all would wear a lot of hats, I would say. But it's great with the freedom that we're able to still, unleash these kind of ideas, and everyone's just very open to working towards them. It's just kind of to make sure, because as Diageo and Guinness are such, reputable, trusted brands, we always have to maintain that kind of Diageo marketing code, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Which I can imagine is really difficult because you are such a well marketed team and brand and sub brands. So, do you have strict guidelines when you're doing that kind of work? Do you find it? How, can you have any tips for our listeners of how to do good brand guidelines for a business?
Yeah, I mean, um, with Guinness, like I don't want to say obviously that it's extremely strict, because it's such a brand of innovation and, I guess, challenging the traditional. Um, but definitely we do, as I said, like have Diageo marketing codes, and making sure that we're hitting all the right policies that are in place within Diageo. That's something that I've learned from working in a multinational company like this. It's more about, yeah, ticking the boxes, and ideas will come, but there is a huge time frame to get them in place and to actually action these. Whereas from working in smaller startups before, you'd have these great ideas and you might be able to just play around with it, because um, there's not as many strong rooted rules, let's say. But I think just for listeners, it's just about being able to have patience. I would say, because running these kind of campaigns or ideas through, whether it be through procurement or through finance or through legal, um, it's definitely going to take time when it is a company of a big status. So just to have patience and definitely use your negotiating hat, and um, yeah, I think that would be it.
And like in terms of roadmap and scheduling, how far ahead would you be in terms of marketing? I can imagine, you mentioned the global team and that kind of operation working on the Christmas ads and stuff. I can imagine
Yeah.
that's the Christmas ads are being discussed kind of now and how that's going to operate. But from your point of view, and especially social, whether it's paid or organic, what's your run up? How long in advance do you schedule or know the content you're putting up?
So when it's for, as you're saying, like paid and organic, I always tend to, obviously, as any marketeer, we're constantly on the deadlines. So I'm always trying to start the financial year with a strong, marketing calendar and kind of critical path of what we know are going to be the exacts, and maybe what we know that are going to be the maybes. Um, and for Guinness Storehouse and for Row and Co, when it comes to visitor experience, it would be a little easier, I would say, to have this roadmap in place. And that's obviously with working with our creative external agencies, and also working with collaborations, which we're very strong on. But then when it comes to e-commerce, I'd say it can be quite a challenge at times, especially again over the pandemic period, when it came to the supply chain. And this is something that was completely out of all of our control. It was more that kind of supply and demand for products, and we would have great ideas for certain products, but maybe when we had them planned to launch, whether it be May or whether it be Christmas time, there was a huge delay with these kind of things. And the same for, I'm sure everyone is a huge Guinness NitroSurge fan at this point. It's well known, but that was a long time coming. Obviously in the background with the marketing and the advertising for it, but even as I'm saying, for the supply of it and getting it into our hands, let's say, so we were able to ship it out to our well loyal customers. Through the pandemic, I think we've just learned so much more of how to deal with these kind of delays, maybe more than we ever would have. So who knows, maybe if it was a blessing in disguise, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it definitely helps people getting organized and realizing what is actually important. But yeah, I was definitely one of those that it was only at the beginning of this year that I managed to get one of the widgets, the Guinness Nitro Surge widgets, because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were in high demand for the Christmas. I can imagine that it's brilliant when you create a product like that does assist, and it was perfect timing in terms of you know more people being at home or pubs being closed and stuff. I can imagine something like that. It just boomed when it happens.
Oh, absolutely. It literally was like gold dust, the talk of the town for most people. And yeah, it just, again, it would make you just very proud to be working within a team that you're able to be at the foreground of that kind of change, and as you said, offering this when times were tough and pubs were closed and all people wanted was a fresh creamy pint of Guinness. And I hope, please God, that most people ended up getting their NitroSurge device. I know, as you said, they definitely were hard to come by, though.
Yeah, they were, but demand only brings good things. So I'm sure that was all okay. Looking at your kind of day to day work, is there any softwares you use, Phoebe, that you would really recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, well, obviously within e-commerce specifically, Shopify is our main platform that we use, and we're on Shopify Plus, which is just, again, just an advanced and more kind of premium side of Shopify, where we get to have uh, other parts of it maybe that we didn't have access to before. I think Shopify, it's amazing, to be honest. such a user-friendly platform, very, very easy to use for us as a team, and then, as I said, for the actual online customer. And there's just so many opportunities for implementations of apps as well within Shopify, whether that be, promotional tools, personalizing tools, or again, email marketing. One app that we do have implemented with Shopify is the app Selly. It's Selly. This has performed so well within our site. It's an app that you give the online customer the choice to, let's say, as an example, they get to add a bundle to their basket, so they could, let's say, gain free shipping. So when they're coming to the end of their order, it would be like a little promotional bundle at the end of the page that they could add, let's say, some socks, or add some jewelry that would get them to the free shipping if they wanted to require that. And that has been amazing. I would definitely recommend it. It implements very well with Shopify as well. Another app that we've used before, and this was something I implemented with the launch of NitroSurge, was Klaviyo. Again, I'm sure other email marketers would know of this app very much. It's just an amazing tool for CRM itself, and for creating kind of strategies behind your launches. And this did wonders for us when we launched NitroSurge for our mailing list and subscribers. But again, as you were saying before, Tom, about policies and kind of maybe more strict rules that we would have as a bigger company, that was something that we learned a lot about when we had this launch of NitroSurge. Klaviyo was an amazing tool, but I guess not something that would be sustainable for a brand like Diageo. So now we're in the middle of centralizing our data fully, so that we can work with the company Salesforce, obviously, who are kind of well known for CRM strategies. So we're centralizing our data capturing and using this with Google Analytics to develop a new and fresh strategy that kind of, as I said, it aligns with our data policies and our alcohol policies.
Phoebe, leaving off kind of what you're working on and your experience previously, is there any areas you're looking to upskill into, and why?
I think, God, if I had all the time in the world, it would be to upskill in SEO and keyword search. I've learned just from my past, it's just vital, within the digital marketing industry, and then particularly for e-commerce when it comes to our traffic and our conversion rate. The language of your website, I think, just automatically creates an identity and a character for your brand. And again, like, obviously, a brand like Guinness, it's already so prevalent that we have an identity and a character. So that, in terms of that, it's more about sticking to, as I said before, that kind of Diageo marketing code. But for a brand like Roe & Co., there's more leverage, I think, that you can play with different keywords and use more kind of terms that are in the whiskey world and experiment with ideas, whether it be blog posts that are going to create other pages for your website, to just keep track of those online customers, whether they be new or returning. I think just copywriting itself, it's a beast of its own, isn't it? Like, so I think I'm only scratching the surface of it, but I'd love to explore a bit more of it, and gain some more skills.
Brilliant. And looking at the digital industry as a whole, is there anything that you find really exciting that might be linked to Guinness, might not be just something of interest coming up that you think, oh, I'm going to keep an eye on this?
I'm, to be honest, I'm just really excited to see the whole direct to consumer world explode even more. Whether that's in brand awareness or within sales, like e-commerce obviously now is just such a lucrative business, and I'm really proud at what I have given within Guinness Storehouse and within Row and Co. Kind of just being at the face of change. Um, Myself and my team, we felt like we were creating history. Obviously, when our e-commerce department was developed during the pandemic, and being able to develop these online platforms from scratch was brilliant experience for everyone. And for the brands that are mainly known for visitor experience, like Guinness, it's motivating to be working on the online consumer side of things and being able to extend that, that world class experience through the screen,
Yeah.
and not just in person.
Yeah, I can see that. And it's really interesting because obviously Guinness has always needed your pubs or clubs or whatever to sell the products. But obviously things change, can you see that becoming more popular? People buying Guinness online for, weddings or events or things like that, or just, Guinness pop-up pubs or shops or something. Can you see more of that happening in the next, couple of years?
Absolutely. I think we're only at the beginning of it, to be honest. And whether that's, like you said, when it comes to weddings, and we've had so many requests for that in the past, for a supply of Guinness for weddings, and just being able to, as we said, like meet that kind of virtual need. And our biggest seller actually on e-commerce is our personalized glasses. So it's the pint glass that you would get in the pub, or if you were up in the Gravity Bar in Guinness, and you get to engrave a personalised message on it. And that again is just the gift that keeps on giving, let's say. So whether it's for birthdays or different types of events when it comes to other businesses, or like corporate events when they want to get some type of print that's on a glass, that's something that I just think we will continue, smashing the glass ceiling and seeing where it takes us. It's just, yeah, it's very exciting to see that there's so much more to come, I think.
That's really interesting. And lastly, we always ask everyone the same question on the show, which is, if you could bottle up one personality trait that you have, Phoebe, that you could pass on to others, what would it be?
I would say resilience, if I'm honest. This is something that I've gained obviously on a personal level, but also in a career aspect. And I think from dealing with maybe hardships in your own life, you can only gain more tools to deal with the stressful situations in work life then. And one thing I would say to listeners is, it's not just for a career setting or life, it can be both, but just remember that your trajectory, it's not always going to be linear. It's definitely more fluctuating. And don't be discouraged by this thought. In my opinion, I think it's just the best way to grow and learn what you want in a career. Um, I've had positions in the past where I was under a higher title and then transitioned to a less responsibility position, let's say, in another workplace. And that's fine. Some places won't always meet your expectations, and that's okay. And you learn to keep going. And if you have certain failures in a job or life or whatever, or certain low points, and these are inevitable. Life is not always, a field of daisies, but you'll have better tools to then get up and brush yourself off and find another route, or another solution to what you were going for in the first place. Um, yeah, I think that's what I would say, resilience.
Yeah, and I think that's, a brilliant answer to end the show. So, Phoebe, first and foremost, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm sure so many people would love to hear what you have to say and work out what's going on in Diageo and how that operates. But yeah, first and foremost, thank you so much.
Thanks a million, Tom. Really appreciate it.